Senator Snowe.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I thank you for holding this hearing today on this very critical issue and examining one of the most unexamined, unexplored, which is the energy futures market. That's certainly deeply disturbing and deeply troubling. Certainly puts us at a tipping point in our economy with respect to the high energy prices. And I know for my constituents in Maine, the question that they are asking is exactly why this is happening. It's totally inexplicable in terms of where we are today. As you said, Mr. Ram, about home heating oil prices. In my state, 80% of winter heat's derived from oil. 80%. And the price currently is $4.50. It went up a single day in May, according to my Maine oil deal, is 30 cents in one day, 7%. It just doesn't, it just doesn't stand to reason. It's not rational. And I'm concerned because clearly it represents a tipping point for America in terms of its economy and for Americans. We're talking about maybe, $5,000 oil bills for the average Mainer or anybody using home heating oil next winter. I mean, that's now. We have no way of knowing what it's going to be next winter. If you pay a cap price of $4.89 in Maine right now. So this is deeply disturbing and devastating. I mean, it could place our economy in ruins. People are asking the question, why is this happening? And it is not based on supply and demand, and that's what I'm hearing. Would you all agree? It is not, and that's the question the Madam Chair asked, whether or not it's based on supply and demand, and it's not. And so, we've taken the first step in the Farm Bill. Senator Feinstein and I and Senator Cantwell introduced that legislation, became law several weeks ago, but I'm concerned about the timidity of the agencies as well and not aggressively pursuing the speculation that is now pervasive. So one of the questions I would like to ask is with respect to the Foreign Board of Trades. Should we have the ability to limit their positions? In fact, in one of our questions that we posed to the Commodity Futures Trading Commission recently in a letter that Senator Feinstein, Senator Cantwell, and I submitted with respect to the West Texas Intermediate crude oil futures that now represent 31% of the U.S. oils traded on foreign markets. This is in accordance with the response by the Commodity Futures Trading Commission. That's alarming. I mean, that is 31%. And so we don't require the same standard for, obviously, foreign trades by American oil speculators on foreign markets. Is that an area that we should be engaged in, and should we give the authority to the Commodity Futures Trading Commission to engage in that process? Mr. Greenberg?
Senator Snowe, that is a staff, that Foreign Board of Trade license to come into the United States and sell in the United States U.S. delivered products but be regulated back home is a staff no action letter. Unfortunately, I'm embarrassed to say I wrote the template for it. It has 1,000 conditions in it. Under the present circumstances, it can and should be terminated this afternoon. It is, my view is, the way they have converted this limited license into a total exemption is grossly unlawful and makes no sense. And my view is, as Mr. Ram said, it should be, if the CFTC doesn't come to its senses, which it could do, it's not a commission regulation, it's a letter. They could revoke it by the terms of the letter, then you must stop this. You must stop Dubai and NYMEX partnering, selling commodities in the United States on the assumption that speculation will be controlled in Dubai.
So is that something that we should be demanding immediately today, and that they could do it unilaterally?
Oh, yes, and as I read your letter, Senator Snowe, that's exactly what you asked. I know that there are commissioners who would like to do it, but they don't have a control there. That can be ended. If they don't end it, you should end it right away. And by the way, I know you have limited time. I hope I can just expand. What the traders come in and say is, oh, if you regulate us in the United States, we're going to go to Dubai and London. You know, that's phony baloney. I sat there 10 years ago when 18 foreign exchanges came to me and said, we cannot survive unless we are in the United States. We need United States investors and United States markets. They can't escape United States jurisdiction. And I must say, if that's the reaction of Goldman Sachs and Morgan Stanley and British Petroleum to the suffering that you're experiencing, they're not going to go to London. They're going to try and trade in the United States and make it appear they're in London. But my view is, if they want to go to Dubai, God bless. The price of gas in the United States will come dropping down. We should wish them well.
Well, I appreciate that forthrightness, and I think that is certainly something that we should be pursuing as soon as possible. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Senator Pryor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate you having this hearing. Let me follow up, if I can, Mr. Greenberger, on what you were just talking about with Dubai and these other exchanges. As I understand it, the way it works is, in order to trade in oil commodities, you only have to put 6% of the capital down, and that is a 16 to 1 ratio, something like that. Should we look at that? Is that a way to address this?
It is a way, and I think it should be looked at for speculators. But I think what Mr. Soros said is the historic, traditional answer in these markets. You need speculation to make them liquid, but you can't have 90% of the market speculation, which I believe is the case today in West Texas Intermediate. The historic way, from 1922, with the Grain Act, passed by farmers at the request of farmers, since 2000, when Mr. Graham deregulated these markets, speculation limits were designed contract by contract to say, yes, speculators come in, but you can only have a small part of this market. It's for Mr. Ram. This market is for him to hedge his interests. And what we have now, I believe data will soon be released, that if you calculate properly the West Texas Intermediate market, you will see 90% of it is dominated by hedge funds, banks, endowments, pension funds, mutual funds, etc. They've taken over. And as Mr. Soros said, you can't run the market like that. It's completely dysfunctional. So I say everybody should be regulated, spec limits should be applied, and margin increase for speculators should definitely be looked at.
And if the price of West Texas crude today is what, roughly 130 a barrel?
Well, interestingly enough, it touched 135 the day the CFTC announced it would do something about it. By the end of the day, it was 126. So it's somewhere between 125 and 130 right now.
And if we did the fixes that you're recommending, what do you think the price of a barrel of West Texas crude may go to?
Well, I wish I could forthrightly predict that, because I wouldn't be here now. I'd be in a beach in Rio de Janeiro. But my prediction is, for whatever it's worth, is you'd get at least a 25% drop in the cost of oil and a corresponding drop in the cost of gasoline. Some people estimate 50%.
And let me follow up on something that I know that Senator Dorgan feels very passionate about, and that is to stop putting oil into the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, which we did 2 or 3 weeks ago, and the President ultimately signed it. What impact will that have?
Well, you know, OPEC, which is the biggest strategic petroleum reserve in the world, will not release oil into this market because they believe that they can throw all the oil they want to throw at this market, but the speculators will continue to drive it up. My view is, if you don't control speculation, you can empty the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, and the price of oil will continue to go up. And that's why people say, oh, we want green energy, we want biofuel. Well, the biofuel developers are going to need to hedge when they get their biofuel going. And what's going to happen when you get all this new clean energy is the banks are going to go into those markets and rob those guys blind, like they're robbing the gas station owners and heating oil dealers in this country right now. Small business people are tanking. The other day I talked to Sean Cota, who's the head of the New England Fuel Institute, and I said, Sean, make sure you have someone at this hearing. And he wrote back and said, Michael, I'm in a meeting with Vermont oil dealers. Half of them think they will be gone as a financial institution by the end of this week.
Right. If I may yes. point out,
Sorry.